I tried to use AI to work less as a founder, and it didn't turn out the way I expected. After auditing my own business, I discovered three bottlenecks that were quietly stealing 20 hours of my time every single week. And one of the most effective fixes had nothing to do with AI, which surprised me because I was conducting an AI audit. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how I did it. And at the end of it, I will give you a clean cheat sheet that you can use to run an audit for your own business. So let's get started. So I audited my own business. I audited my business because it's a real company. It has real operations, and I just wanted to make my life easier. But I treated myself like a client along the way because I wanted to make it a system that can be reused, because usually that does increase the quality of the system. The goal was to buy back my time, and if somebody else wants to use it, buy back any founder's time. Quick context, my business. So my business is a camper rental company. It's a very seasonal business, and it's operationally heavy, especially during high season. And there's a lot of customer communication involved with that kind of business. So how I started this whole thing. So AI stuff, I started in the beginning of 2023. I played around with a lot of tools just for fun. I tried to throw them at my business in some ways. But I never really had a huge ROI of that, except for honestly using ChatGPT, and not even in the right way, to write emails. So that's why I ran this audit. I just wanted to put a system behind that, because I heard this quote, that if you go to the gym without a plan, if you go to the gym every once in a while, you won't really see any real results without a clear structure and a clear plan. And that's usually what it's like with most things in life. So I decided I first want to get clear on the cure for automating stuff in my business. How I ran the audit. So I ran the audit like a structured interview, and I structured the questions in a way that I would ask them to somebody else. So I kind of interviewed myself as the business owner. And the focus of this interview was friction and not ideas. So the interview was mainly about what are the friction points in the business. And that's all I asked myself as the owner, because that's what I'm qualified to talk about. So what's annoying in the business, what just causes friction. And what I then looked for were for tasks that repeat every day, every week. That just repeatable tasks that depend on the founder and that would break if I stepped away. And using Cloud AI as a senior partner, I conducted an interview process that resulted in 10 bottlenecks. So to give a little more detail, first off, the first interview was just basic questions like, what does the business do? What does your daily life look like in the business? And just to get a rough idea of the industry, and the business itself and its processes, and just some first, overall pains in the business. And then I used this info to make a real interview. So to get real questions for the real interview that would actually be, which transcript would actually be used for the for making the audit. And this audit led to 10 bottlenecks. So there was no guessing involved, because it was just from the process that resulted in those 10 bottlenecks. So from raw data to 10 bottlenecks. Examples that came up in the audit were repetitive WhatsApp questions, pickup and return coordination loops. So to put some sense behind that, in the camper rental business, it's so that the pickup and return times, they change a lot. So there needs to be a time slot management for pickups and returns. The deposit refunds were across different systems, and manual review requests, we'll come to that later. Cleaning quality and delegation, just put a system behind that too. Vehicle service history in my head, and manual bookkeeping follow-ups. So this is just stuff that always required my attention, and it didn't really make it a business. It kind of like the saying, you just created a job for yourself, because the business didn't run itself. I had to run, or I have to run the business. And that's what we're trying to fix with this audit, or at least identify with the audit. So then I grouped those bottlenecks just to make them easier to digest and put them into categories so it's just easier to understand them and to grab them. So customer communication is a huge one. Like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of customer questions, and you're going to be really surprised, because it's crazy how many of the questions were actually FAQ questions that can easily be automated. Post-trip follow-ups, so review requests, operational quality control, so pickup, return, just checklists and SOPs, and back office admin, deposits, service, info, and bookkeeping. So, like I said, grouping made it easier to digest. How I selected the 3 to act on. So the selection criteria was high repetition, high time cost, low strategic value, meaning that those that have a huge impact if they were being attacked first, those are the ones we're going to focus on. Yeah. And why only 3? So the reason I chose 3 was because of what I said at the beginning, with how I started off with playing around with all these tools, throwing different tools at the business, trying to get some results from that, but not really having a plan behind that. So I wanted to focus on the ones that have the highest leverage, and kind of like the 80-20 Pareto principle. So with 20% of the work, you can achieve 80% of the results. And that's what I wanted to focus on, just to gain some momentum and actually get this systemization and automation going. That's why I first focus on 3 and focus on the ones that have the highest ROI. Okay, let's come to the bottlenecks. So bottleneck number 1, you might have expected this one in a communication heavy business, the WhatsApp repetition. And like I said, it's crazy how much percentage could be automated. So I'll quickly share this. I analyzed all the chats, and 80% of all chats were just FAQ questions. So literally 80% of all the questions I answered were just questions that could have been answered with the FAQs. And I understand I don't like reading FAQs either. So customers just chose the easy way. I offered them the way to text to via WhatsApp when they have questions. So that's what they did. And then I wrote nicely formatted questions, because I kind of had to make them individual, because they were in the FAQ, but not in the exact tone that they asked. And you don't want to just send a basic answer, because it's unpersonal. So that really did take a lot of time. Rough estimates are 8 to 10 hours per week just for that. And it's not only the time you use to answer the questions, but also the interruption from other workflows, which, if you're interrupted, it takes you a while to get back to the thing you were doing and be focused again. But on the other hand, it's necessary to answer quickly. So this was kind of annoying. And thinking that 80% of that could have been automated way earlier, it kind of makes me feel dumb. But yeah. Okay, so the solution principle for that is automate repetition, not customers. The reason why I decided for that is because of a personal experience I had with an airline. So I was in a stressful situation, wanted to rebook a flight, and all I could do was text with a chatbot. And since I should actually have been able to reschedule the flight myself, but it didn't work for some reason. The chatbot just pushed me to the FAQ section, and I just couldn't get a hold of any human, which was very, very frustrating. And since I run a small business and it's kind of a promise to have good customer service, that was unacceptable for me. So therefore, a human fallback option is just really important, and I definitely wanted to have that. Yeah. that was an important factor, choosing the tech stack I'm going to use for that, for the automation, which is going to be Twilio, WhatsApp API call, and make.com. And I chose this setup, or I forgot ChatGPT, but I chose this setup because it allows a lot of flexibility. And for a small business like mine, it's nice to pay per usage, and those platforms allow that. Yeah. Um, so the way to do this was with intent detection, and then just realize early on what the customer is actually asking. And if it's really easy to answer this with an FAQ, then ChatGPT can format a nice message that fits the tone and style of the question and can just answer it with the FAQ, which, crazy enough, will be 80%. But important, I learned along with the research that it is going to be very important to put the FAQ in a rightly structured database. So setting this up once will be kind of complicated, but then it's just going to be a system that's dialed in and work. And the human fallback option is just a must-have for my business. And I think should be for other businesses too, if you can handle answering the questions. But if you don't have an automation at all right now, then you'll definitely be able to handle 20 to 30% afterwards. Okay, bottleneck number 2, reviews. A simple one. This is about what I didn't do. So only 30% of customers I asked to write a review. And when asked, most of them left a review. So I now know I left a lot of opportunity on the table. But since I had so much work to do during high season, I didn't have the time to invest my time into something that didn't seem so important, but actually is important for my business, because people read the review. If they book their vacation, they just want to know they get a well-maintained camper van, a clean camper van. So yeah, it's important to do reviews, and I've left opportunities on the table, and that was just a process problem. And it's just like it says here, it's a simple one. So automated request after clean return, with a 1 to 2 day delay after the return. And important for me was that if there was a damage, I want to skip this request, because even though they caused the damage, it is still an uncomfortable situation, and I don't want to actively ask them to leave a request in that case. And in the message, just automate the name and keep a personal style in the message, which is no different at all from what I did before, which led to a lot of replies. And also, if at the first time maybe they forget to write a review, there needs to be a personalized follow-up after 7 days. And the tech I'm going to use is going to be, again, make.com for the automation, because it's such a flexible platform. And again, Twilio WhatsApp API call. And this time we're going to need to connect the CRM we're using. So if CRM, it's actually the admin panel where all the bookings are shown and all the info for the booking is shown. And this is going to be the complicated one to connect all of this together and then use that information to write a message. And then, yeah. But once this is dialed in, just like with the WhatsApp, it's going to send out a message every single time. Nothing is going to be missed, and without needing any of my attention, which is going to be so nice. Okay, bottleneck number 3. I hinted that. So with one of these, there's no AI in there, no AI required to fix this. So I still have to rework a lot of the vehicles with the cleaning, because with the seasonal workers, it just didn't always meet the quality standards. And the reason for that was because the checklist and there was no real ownership for the seasonal workers. So that's why I needed to double check if they actually did a good job. And well, often it wasn't as good as I was hoping for it, because the quality only existed in my head. So why this fix wasn't AI? Because the bottleneck wasn't information, the bottleneck wasn't decision making, but the bottleneck is kind of the ownership for the seasonal workers. So There was no clear responsibility, and that's why this physical process failed. And in this case, accountability beats automation. And it was a process to find this out, because first I was thinking maybe make an app that they can use to upload pictures of the clean vehicles and therefore give them responsibility. But in this case, simplicity beats software. And the idea is to have fixed weekly shifts, because that was also kind of a problem scheduling the times. I would just do fixed weekly shifts this year, with physical checklists for the cleaning that they have to sign. And then also, this is going to be the biggest one. There will be a tag they have to hang inside the car and write on there, cleaned by me, and sign it. So the customers will actually see that when they pick up the vehicle, and I will see it too. And so if they didn't do a good job, it's so easy to know who didn't do a good job. And solely them having to sign this, I think, will lead to a better job, because, well, that's how I would act if I was in their shoes. So this was mainly a mindset and system change that resulted from doing the audit, which was nice because, yeah, I did the audit, and I analyzed the whole business. The ROI of the audit is at least 13 to 21 hours per week back. This is conservative estimation. And the tool cost will be minimal, because I researched the tools that only I have to pay for usage and are very flexible in the long term. Yeah. And this just brought me a lot of clarity, which will outpace the hustle that I had to do previously every year. So another lesson from this is AI is powerful, but only after the fundamentals are done. I learned along the way that a lot of businesses' problems is not that they need to throw AI at all the processes like it's shown in the AI ads, but to get their information in databases structured, to get their processes right. I remember Elon Musk saying that don't optimize before you don't reduce. And sometimes you just have to question the processes you have and ask if they're really necessary. Yeah. But that's different for every business. I just wanted to give a case study for my own business with this video. And put structure on it. And in my case, ownership helped, and the simplest systems often win. Okay, what comes next? I will implement the WhatsApp automation. I will actually record a video about this too. So if you want to do it too for your business, make sure to watch the video. Afterwards, I will implement the review automation. Also, I will do a video for this. And maybe I will be rolling out a cleaning system in a video too. I'm not so sure about that yet. But yeah, I just want to document everything step by step to keep the quality high up, and maybe I can help someone else with that. So the audit cheat sheet, I promised that at the beginning. You'll find the link in the description. It's not the exact process I used. It's like it says, a cheat sheet. It's going to be quicker, but it's going to help you identify some bottlenecks already. And if you want to reach out to me, just comment below and I'll make sure to read the comments. Thanks for watching.